Welcome to the second hour of Authentic News right here on RBN Live, where I take your calls the 16th day of May 2025. Delighted the first caller up is Layla from Canada. Join the conversation. Layla, welcome back.
Yeah, hi, Jim. The first thing I'd like to do is I want to compliment Carol, who called yesterday and expressed her dismay at how some of the hosts seem to be supporting Israel's genocide. First of all, she expressed herself so beautifully. She has a lovely voice. She's very articulate, and she made a very persuasive argument. Ironically, though, it's not so much that I believe that even false speech should be allowed. I think from a secular perspective, because of the laws and the FCC, I think it would reflect badly if RBN, unless it's going to become a purely single-issue network, there has to be that variety, opposing points of view. I know it sounds ironic for me to be saying it, but let those who propose or support a certain ideology have their say. And they're outnumbered anyway. And if they're good hosts in every other way, then that should not disqualify them. But nonetheless, I really have to compliment Carol. I wish she would call more often because she's so articulate. She has such a lovely voice, and her mind works so beautifully. So I do hope she will call in more often. And please don't take offense at my suggestion that even those who may appear to support Israel, sometimes just the things they say makes listeners think, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. That's not the way a Christian is supposed to think. And so unless you hear the bad qualities of other people's arguments, you may not realize how they themselves can disqualify their own statements. So essentially what I'm doing is agreeing with you in terms of free speech.
Layla, that's
or at least I hope it's
very, very gracious and broad-minded of you. As I've been explaining, Sir Karl Popper emphasized that open and unfettered debate is our most effective method of discovering the truth. And what's going on in the case of genocide is such a horrific crime that anyone who actually endorses it is thereby showing themselves to be morally unfit. It's disgusting. I mentioned yesterday, perhaps, that I have a piece evaluating alternative moral theories for popular theories, subjectivism, which means an action's right if I think it's right. Family values, an action's right if the family thinks it's right. Religious-based ethics, an act is right if the religion thinks it's right. And this, I think, turns out to cut very strongly against Judaism, because if we can figure out the right moral theory, it will turn out Judaism falls far short of qualifying. Then cultural relativism. If a culture thinks a practice is right, then it's right. And I offer counterexamples to show why none of those are defensible moral theories, and then turn to more philosophical. Ethical egoism, which gives a more refined calculation for subjectivism, that if contemplating alternative actions, you should always prefer the one that produces the greatest net happiness for you as a person, which can entail harm to others. Then there's limited utilitarianism, action by a group, that the group is taking the action if the group is taking the action that benefits them the most. When you subtract the happiness they acquire minus the unhappiness they may inflict, which I regard as the most pernicious and dangerous, because you have a whole group supporting what can be completely immoral behavior, properly understood. Then we have classic utilitarianism that most Democrats, it's probably the most widely held moral theory, but it's still defective because it does not protect individual rights, where utilitarianism says that action that produces the greatest good for the greatest number is the preferable action. And then finally, deontological moral theory which says you must always treat other human beings with respect and never, never merely as means, or murder, robbery, kidnapping, rape, or crystal clear illustration of treating other person merely as means. So that when you review the nature of morality, it's very clear genocide is among the most grotesque immoral actions a human could commit, or a group, and where I condemn it, but where I encourage all of you who have an interest to review the arguments I present there, Evaluating Moral Theories, on my blog at jameshfetzer.org. And Leila, I commend you for taking such an encompassing point of view. I agree with you, of course, and I think that is correct. Even people who have a deplorable point of view, one with which we might disagree intensely, they are entitled to have their say, to encourage discussion and debate in the search for truth. Thank you for your comment. Further, Leila.
Oh, you're welcome. It's not so much broad-mindedness, but I think it's just a matter of letting people reveal themselves. And I have faith in the majority of people to see through the fallacies of some arguments, especially when the evidence is out there. Now, I object not only to genocide, but even to the murder of a single innocent person.
Sure.
Without due process and without good reason for it. So
Leila,
there's
you're
a whole
absolutely
idea of anyone, whether it's individual murder and brutality and sadism and torture, it's wrong. Whether it's one person doing it to another, or a group ganging up on one, or
yes.
a small group with powerful weapons ganging up on unarmed large groups. If
yes.
we're going to be the best that we're capable of being, we have to refrain from those things, and we have to do it voluntarily sometimes. Very
yes.
often it's law that prevents it from happening, but ideally we would incorporate those values because we want to be better than that. Think of the word genocide. It is genus. Whatever you do to one, you do to the whole. And that's,
yes.
and that's the thing we have to keep in mind. And furthermore, even people with bad ideas still have good qualities. They still may bring good information to us, especially when they're the hosts that are on RBN. Many of them, I may not agree with them, but every now and then I hear something that I find very interesting and informative. So, but still, I just really admire Carol. I was very impressed with her, and I would like her to, I wish she would call more often. The ones I don't like are the ones who keep calling and saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
Maybe I'm guilty of that too. You know, we're all a little guilty of repetition.
You're doing great, Leila. This is wonderful. And of course, it reflects why due process rights, before taking, life, liberty, or property, it has to be done through a proper judicial process. And it's got to be a proper judicial process, not a rigged one, such as I've encountered here in Dane County, where I'm very glad to say that the judge in my case retired 5.5 years early, Leila, because there are 4 appeals before the Court of Appeals are about to render. And it may have led to his not just recusal from my case, but even removal from the bench. So I think he sees the handwriting on the wall and took his preferred option. But it also shows why the COVID shots being administered without informed consent is grossly immoral. Yes. Grossly immoral. Because you're not allowing people to decide whether or not they should subject themselves to what turns out to be a medical experiment, and one that's actually in gene therapy, genetic engineering, which has never been spelled out properly to the American people. A final thought, Leila.
Informed consent. I mean, if we expect justice for ourselves and fair treatment for ourselves, we have to give it to others. And with regard to medication, that has been one of the major principles about ethically practicing medicine, that you get informed consent and that you do your best to ensure that what you are doing is appropriate for the so-called disease and that it is appropriate for the individual, their age, their health, and their status of susceptibility to the disease. None of that was taken into consideration. It was clearly mass alteration of whatever motivation. We can only guess at the motivation, and none of us can be sure that we're guessing correctly. But anyway, I'll let you go, Jim.
No, Leila, it's mass depopulation. There's no doubt about it, and anti-fertility for both men and women. It's as sinister an agenda as the world has ever encountered. Thank you for a wonderful call, Leila. Wonderful, splendid. Susie in Arizona joined the conversation. Susie.
Hi, Dr. Fetzer. I'm calling regarding the Altadena fire.
Yeah.
And since you're familiar with the area, and with Mountain View Cemetery, when I was there oddly, when I was there in mid-February, they had the whole cemetery closed down. I tried to enter the cemetery because I have ancestors there, and I know you mentioned before that your mom was there, but
my father too. Both of my parents are buried there.
Well, and oddly, I have to say, 6 weeks after the fire, the cemetery is closed down to allow for cleanup. That was really odd. I'm going back to California in a week or so, and so I'll try and enter again. But oddly, it was closed down. But something... Monica Perez, who is a podcaster who lives in Altadena, has talked about what's gone on there. And so, just so that you know, it's not normal what's going on there. It really is not normal.
Yes. No, it certainly sounds like that. I'm glad you mentioned this, Susie. Do you have any speculations about why this is so odd?
Well, from day one, I said it was a land grab, and something that is not talked about a lot because of maybe his little funny things. The land purveyor in Glendale, who has I forget the name of it, but it's the they have the Glendale. They took over the Glendale. I forget whatever it is. They took over the Glendale thing so that they have now the. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember.
Not a problem. If the thought comes back, call back in. We can go ahead.
No, but he took over and he was running for mayor, but he took over like the land grab of Glendale. And my guess is that he's going to take over the Altadena. And he has, his area took over part of Palisades. So he had a part of Palisades that survived because he had put out private whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it in these days, but he put out private firefighters in Palisades. Yeah. And he has part of Palisades, but he owns the Americana on Brand. And he has several areas in Southern California. And my guess, and he ran for mayor of L.A., my guess is that he's going to somehow or other benefit in all of this. Whether it's
try to do a land grab under the guise of reconstruction, given the fire, using that as a pretext. That wouldn't be surprising. I think there's a lot of that going on. Yeah,
I said that from day one. One, and I named him from day one. You know what? It's just, it's sad. And you grew up there, and you know the area, and I worked there a lot, and my heart broke when I saw it in the mid February. When I drove through, you would not recognize it. It was heartbreaking.
Susie.
heartbreaking. And
Susie, I believe it. Yeah.
all of the
Very, 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 very upsetting. I couldn't agree more.
well,
Final
and
thought? Go ahead.
Well, yeah. What was really odd was that the vehicles that got burned out, there were non-EVs, were said no non-RV EV. So they had cleared out somehow or other during the all of the stuff where they first cleared out all the toxic stuff. They cleared out the EV, and then they marked the cars that got burned out that were non-EVs. And they were marked that way. They were painted on the cars that got burned out, non-EV, which was, to me, it was like it was nothing around there is normal anymore. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Susie. Much appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, JP in Chicago, join the conversation. JP will hit a break. I'll carry you over, JP.
Hello?
Yes. Are you there? JP. Okay, let's flip. Let's get Gabriel on. Gabriel, join the conversation. Sorry I couldn't stay to converse with you earlier today. Go ahead, Gabriel. Join the conversation.
Professor, good afternoon.
Yes.
I have good news. I noticed when you stopped using Skype last week, your audio quality really improved.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's
yeah, big time.
Fascinating, Gabriel. I had no idea. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I also just connected a little bit better just now as well. Recently, Trump reduced his China tariffs, if I'm correct,
Yes.
by 80%. Yeah, by
Yes.
80%, if I'm correct, which is very significant. And I believe it was related to rare earth elements. So China produces 99% of the world's supply of rare earth elements used by the auto industry, the aerospace industry, the U.S. military, semiconductor industry. All of these industries use these rare minerals from China. And so I wonder if this was what the Ukraine mineral deal is really about, because I don't think Ukraine has too many of these rare elements, and Trump could be getting played with that. He's really kind of proving himself to be an idiot.
Well, my impression, Gabriel, is most of those are in areas controlled by Russia. So I don't see how Ukraine could follow through on their part of the bargain if Russia actually controls those areas. So we'll find out. We're going to hit a break, Gabriel, but I'll carry you over.
Okay.
Go ahead. Say more.
Any idea of going to war with
There
China?
There we go. Stand by. We'll be right back with Gabriel.
When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind, I'll open up the door.
Home.
Nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy.
Gabriel, continue, please.
So I have a concern that there's a secret plan to go to war with China for these rare mineral resources. I think it's a bad idea, and we know how we get brought into these wars. It's always based on lies. They come up with some lie or something, and then they don't tell us the real reason of what they're up to. I think something is seriously wrong with Trump acting like the world is for sale. He treats Gaza like it's real estate, as well as other areas of the world. That's just an example. And then he says he wants to reopen Guantanamo Bay and Alcatraz. Well, I hope he ends up confined in one of those two. Because, well, if you remember back, both of them were shut down because of crimes against humanity, including their primary use was to conduct torture on prisoners. And he wants to open those back up. And I think that he represents Satan himself. Who the hell does he think he is, Professor? Trump is beyond not having his head screwed on right. He's lower than dirt when you consider some of these things that he's doing. Meanwhile, Professor, you and I debated on whether the existence of God can be proven, and I think you felt like you won that debate. But in my opinion, your argument defeated itself, as I'll explain briefly. And I would like your audience to maybe vote on who they think won. I argue that mathematics proves the existence of God or intelligent creators, because the probability of the human being, the world and outer space and everything, being the result of random events and processes is about 0%, but the probability of the human being and everything being the result of an intelligent creator is about 100%, mathematically speaking. Then, Professor, you argued that intelligence itself evolved, and you have implied that that it evolved randomly. But my whole point and argument was that, mathematically speaking, things like the human being and intelligence can't result from random processes or random events, not even random evolution.
Well, Gabriel, this isn't really the occasion for elaborate, but you're adopting an overly simple model of evolution that, yes, I would agree myself, is unsustainable. Evolution has 8 different causal mechanisms, 4 of speciation, which include genetic mutation, sexual reproduction, what's known as genetic drift, and artificial genetic engineering, and 4 mechanisms of selection as to which genes are perpetuated in future gene pools, including natural selection, sexual selection, group selection, and artificial selection. These are laws of nature. They are non-random processes, so your fundamental premise is mistaken. But let us save this for another occasion, Gabriel, and I appreciate your resilience in returning to the fray. Thanks. Do you have a final thought before we take our next caller? A final thought?
Yes, I was wondering if I wanted to debate briefly about George Floyd. I looked closely at the case, and I'm not ruling out what you're saying about it being a dummy. But the videos and photos don't. Yeah, the videos and photos don't show a dummy saying "I can't breathe" repeatedly. Are you saying that was a dummy? And
but did you have any idea how many ways videos can be manipulated, Gregory? I mean, Gabriel, look, go to Deception Galore and tell me what you think I have wrong there. He's got hair and he's got manacled behind the back, and then he's on the ground and he has no hair, and his hands are in front of his back. And it turns out when they lift him into the stretcher, he has no legs. It's a Sigma 7 African-American torso training dummy. I'm sorry. Go ahead and look at that evidence. Deception Galore, Gregory. You can find it online. Well, Gabriel, we'll pick it up by and by. Let's see, JP. Welcome back, JP. Sorry we lost you. We're going to hit the break, but start up now. Go ahead. I'll carry over.
Hit
we both had fortunate luck in Wisconsin. You got a new judge, I got a new judge. So that old Marine hymn, I like to sing here from the halls of Montezuma. Triple B. We'll fight our country's battles on air and land and sea.
Yes,
and that was,
yes.
you know where that comes from, Triple E? We were fighting the Barbary pirates in the Middle East.
You're right,
That's where that comes
JP.
from.
You're absolutely right. Stand by. We'll be right back with JP from Chicago.
In a church where a wedding has been, lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people. Because you can handle the truth.
Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday. Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh,
For those who may be a little baffled by what JP's talking about, the judge in my case here in Dane County, where I have 4 appeals that are about to be ruled upon by the Court of Appeals, where I call for the judge to be recused from the case or even removed from the bench, has taken to voluntary retirement 5.5 years before his term would expire on 1 August 2030, which I find a very encouraging sign. The evidence I have is massive. 7 rulings I gave that showed extreme bias on his part. I argue collusion between the judge and the attorneys against me to deprive me of my constitutional rights under color of law. This is a big deal, and it looks as though it's moving in the right directions. So, JP, I appreciate that. You're noticing and responding. I like that.
I applaud that, Jim, because I've been through the same kangaroo court, as we talked before, and having a crooked judge and having your lawyer and the plaintiff's attorney and the DA all working together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a kangaroo court.
Bad.
So luckily, this is an ironic story going back. You had some great callers today, but my girlfriend we were a power couple back, when I used to make 6 figures, and instead of going, I got a liberal arts degree, but I went to tech school and I was involved with computers when I was 12.
Yeah.
So I had the colleges weren't giving me what I needed. Tech school and real life experience, being in the field, doing thousands of jobs where I learned how to do stuff.
Yes.
So I have a really good skill set, and that's where the government picked me up because they knew I could fix about anything. They sent me out to a job. So it took a while to build up my career and build up my job and then have a Vietnamese whore come along and basically steal the identity of a priest. And this is the biggest part of it. My lawyer, Steve Cohen, was working with the plaintiff's attorney. He got framed for some maybe bogus charge. Maybe it was a deep state coming after him. But he got framed, turned on me, and hired the plaintiff's attorney. Now, check this out. My girlfriend knew this guy that forged the signature. He had to forge a dead priest signature because he was dead 10 years. So he had the death certificate. As I was finding this out, this woman was calling the cops on me, framing me, all kinds of stuff. I got hit with IRS audits. They took all the money out of my bank. And my own lawyer was working against me. But if it wasn't for my Jew-Rican girlfriend, Puerto Rican and Sephardic Jew, she's a real Jew like Layla, and she's a real Christian. God bless her. She had the richest, best salon in town, and Gibbs' wife went to that salon, and she had a copy of her signature on file. So we took her signature from one of the contracts and compared it with the forged signature, and it turned out Gibb forged his wife's signature. And then he went and did a police confession. I got a complete confession that he forged a dead priest signature and used his wife's indicia, which is a felony. And then instead of doing that, they started hitting me with charges because they were trying to take my property. That town I was in had eminent domain my property. They were out to get me because I was a punk from Chicago. I can't blame them. Barney Fife cops, when they get together, could just make up any kind of charges. Yeah. They could have ended up killing me and got away with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're in a kangaroo court, unless you get a new judge like you got, you would have never got justice. And another thing, I brought all this information to the new FBI, Kash Patel. I brought it to the AG of Indiana, where this priest was possibly murdered. I'm going to say this, I don't know for sure, but I know for sure that she forged his signature, and she was a whore from Vietnam, and she had a whorehouse in that place when she came over. So she used this guy, gave sexual pleasures to him to get him to forge a dead priest signature. And you know what? This is going to make big news. It's going to be a huge case. But, Jim, it took me years to gather the discovery. It took $50,000 in attorney fees. So trust me, brother, I understand what you're going through. I know they went after you and your wife. They were trying to get your wife's bank account. Were they doing dirty tricks like that?
It was absurd. I owe a debt, so they wrongly took my wife's part of our federal and state income tax return, even reimbursement she'd had from the family for shopping, things as trivial as that. And when I protested and filed a complaint, the Court of Appeals came back and said, you can't do that. You got to do it again. And they did it all over again. They didn't correct. They didn't act in accordance with the Court of Appeals. So I think the Court of Appeals can see this was a dirty deal from beginning to end, and that I was dealing with very corrupt attorneys and a corrupt judge. That's my take here. JP, give us some final thoughts.
You got a clean break. I've been using my contacts. Gary French, he does open mic there at the White House. I got contacts through him to get to Pam Bondi. I've talked about your case. I've talked about my case. And there's been some heat on these judges in Wisconsin, trust me. The FBI is looking into them.
Good.
Maybe that's why they're running.
Good. JP, what a great call. Thank you, my friend. I look forward to our next conversation. Mitch in Michigan. Mitchell in Michigan. Join the conversation, Mitch. We lost Mitch. Well, Mitch, if you hear us, come on back. Tom in Florida. Tom, join the conversation. Tom, welcome back.
Yeah, good day. Everybody have a good day. Jim, that guy, Gabriel, I think it's Gabriel was.
Gabriel.
Gabriel, Greg, or whatever you call it. He was talking about God. I believe that. I believe in that too myself. But, I believe there was godly intervention saving Donald Trump's life. 2 assassination attempts. And I believe that Donald Trump was guy got pulled away from Trump. So that's how I feel about that. If you want to talk about how I feel about God, I think God is the reason we have Donald Trump in the White House right at this moment. Because I don't see Kamala Harris doing anything that what Trump is doing right now. Been doing. By the way, in Dubai, that big giant building, the biggest that giant building in the world, they had an American flag. They lit the building up like an American flag. You saw that?
What do you think about this plane thing? What do you think about this plane thing, Tom? I think it's fraught with problems. Your thoughts?
Listen, whoever said, look, Donald Trump's not going to fly in that damn plane. He's got his own damn plane. He got his Air Force One. You think Donald Trump worries about a plane? He's worth $8 billion. Elon Musk will give him a plane. Donald Trump wants a plane. I'm sure Elon will give him a plane. You don't need a plane from some Muslim country. So I think that's all not much of nonsense. But Donald Trump wants to give it over to Kamala Harris. That might be a smart move. But Kamala and, let one of those demon rats have a Chucky Schmucky Schumer or something. But, Jim, here's what I want to call your network about. I will put up $200 and $100. I'll tell you what, Jim, I'll pay him $100 up from Paul from New Jersey for 20 minutes, and you give Renee 20 minutes on race relations and how affirmative action has helped white America, and all these since 1965, Lyndon Baxter Johnson, civil rights declarations have helped America and helped the black community. I would give 20 minutes for Paul to have 20 minutes and Renee to have 20 minutes to talk about racial relations in this country over the last 50 years.
Would it need to be 20 continuous, or could it be a 10-minute for Paul, 10-minute for Renee, 10-minute for Paul, 10-minute for Renee? I'd like that better.
Yeah. That would be a rebuttal, absolutely. I love your idea. I see the best way to do it, right there, the way you said it. So let's do that. And then I would like $100 would go to for the networks and for that debate. Another $100. I would like to see how many callers you do a survey. Who would win the debate, Renee or Paul? And I know where my money would be at.
Well,
I would like to see that if it's possible.
I'll kick it around with Mike and see whether he thinks it's feasible, and maybe we can do it. There might be a slight break, because the way the clock is set up, we got 20 minutes initially, and then there's a 5-minute break, and then there's 20 minutes again. So it might be interrupted by a 5-minute alternative.
Well, Jim, how about this? How about 15 minutes on your first hour for Paul and 15 for Renee, or however you want to do it?
No. Mike and I are already kicking it around. We'll figure it out, Tom. We can do it. We can do it. We can move the ads around. We can make it happen. We can make it happen.
I'll donate 100 right for Mike, and then also another 100. I would support people to support Real Liberty stickers. I say buy them when you have an opportunity to check out $100, $50 for some stickers to pass on to other people. I think that's a great gift. Those Liberty stickers.
We can do it.
Great ones.
We could do it the second hour and then take comments on the debate following the first 40 minutes. Yeah. We'll figure it out, Tom. We'll figure it out. Great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call.
Jim,
Very novel.
Jim, can I finish off? Jim, can I finish up?
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I want to finish up with this thought. I'm looking at this immigration problem in Massachusetts, and it's blowing my mind when I watch today on the news when they're rounding up all these illegals, and they had rapists and all kinds of illicit drugs. And, I mean, that state is so blue, like California, Jim, for the life of me, as a white Caucasian or an dark Afro-American, how can you want to watch your country unravel to a group of people who don't even know the common language of English? Jim. Oh, and by the way, Jim, I got to tell you, I want everybody in RBN to hear this. I went to a Billy Idol Joan Jett concert the other night here in Sunrise, Florida, and Billy Idol blew the roof off that building when the Florida Panthers won the hockey Stanley Cup championship. But Joan Jett started off. She was spectacular. And for a 66-year-old woman, she is an amazing guitarist. She still looks great. But Billy Idol looked like he had the bottle. His energy was at the level of a 30-year-old man. I don't know what Billy Idol's doing, but I tell you what, he put out one spectacular show. And I want to say this, Jim. At the end of that concert, Billy Idol, he talks, he's basically saluting Jesus Christ. So I think Billy Idol's come a long way in his lifetime, and all the fame and fortune he's, gathered. And I just got to say, Billy Idol, to me, he really shocked the world when he was in that concert, I tell you. If you ever watch a video of that, you'd really be impressed what he did. He's really impressive.
Thanks, Tom.
For a guy,
Good stuff.
69 years old, by the way.
Thank you, Tom. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're going to pursue your idea of the debate. Gregory in California. Gregory, join the conversation.
Hello, everybody on RBN. James, a pleasure again to speak with you. 2 questions and 1 comment, if I may.
Sure.
How does it feel to be a ham sandwich?
A which? A ham sandwich?
Sandwich? Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
They can prosecute a ham sandwich.
Yeah? Yeah, in court. Yeah. I know, yeah.
I've been there.
They take a DA using a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. I get it. Yeah, Gregory, got it.
Yeah, I've been where you're at. Not as severe, but yeah, I've got the T-shirt, underwear, socks, and jockstrap. But second question, is what does a parachute and a mind have in common?
A parachute and a mine. I give, Gregory, share. What do a parachute and a mine have in common?
They only work when they're opened.
They only work when they're open. Yeah, you're right about that. And then you had a further comment you want to make.
Layla's got one of the whitest parachutes I've ever encountered. She is gorgeously lovely. I can't give her enough accolades. She's very but all RBN is until they get into the status factors. I'm not too impressed with people promoting government because, like Mark Passio says, it's slavery. And if you really delve into it and look at it from every angle, with an open mind, you've got to concur with the with the statement, right? So that's all I've got. And I love you all out there in RBN land, and I've been with you for a long, long time, and
thanks,
I really
Gregory.
do appreciate you helping my mind open.
Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Very nice. Very nice call. Very nice call. Is Mitch here? Mitch, we were bringing you in and we didn't connect. So the answer appears to be no. Tom, if you want to call back, I got a few minutes free. You can have them, Tom. Or Gabriel, if you want to call back, Gabriel, call right now. I'll give you a few more minutes of airtime. Glad to have you here. We've had some very interesting talks, and Mike and I believe we can work out the idea of a debate. We'll see if Paul from New Jersey is up for debating Renee about race relations. And I think it would probably be a rather striking exchange. So, Paul, you had a doozy of an idea there. I know I can pull back to Colonel McGregor, by the way, it's just so wonderful. Or even Mike, where have we? Netya's plan to starve, secret weapons, wildfires range. Here we have McGregor. Yeah, let me go bring him back right now. Here we have.
This incredible mold remover gel can restore your bathroom.
Yeah, just a sec.
I mean, no one in the international community, and that may also be true for many people in Israel, who've had to deal with Mr. Netanyahu, have liked the man.
Of the Greater Israel Project that the Prime Minister had to take to the airwaves to deny it. Here he is earlier today in Israel, Chris, cut number 8.
In order to
we heard it before, so we'll skip.
To articulate it. How does that strike you?
I've been disturbed ever since I learned that Mr. Alexander was an Israeli from New Jersey. I thought everybody from New Jersey was an American. I thought it was very strange.
Yeah.
And clearly it was a slight. And Mr. Netanyahu, despite his arrogance, is very, very sensitive, much like Mr. Trump.
Okay, we got a caller. Don from Arizona join the conversation. Don.
Hello, yeah, what McGregor said is right. Is the guy, what is he? Is he an American or is he an Israeli? Which is it?
Yeah.
You got to be one or the other. Right? He was over there. He decided to go fight with the genocide forces over there, and now he got out and he left. But on this deal, as far as people, some hosts defend Israel. John Moore defends Israel, but one thing about him is he takes calls 3 hours every day. You can call up John Moore's show, and he might not always engage with you. Know, he might just say, "Okay, thank you for the call," and hang up, or just ignore you. But I'd like to see. I think it would be good if people that want to defend Israel call into John Moore's show. I did. I tried it, and In fact, I told him, I said, John, you can wear this T-shirt that says Veterans Against Genocide. And the first thing he said was, I never wear a T-shirt in public, which I thought was pretty weird. What if it's really hot? I mean, don't you wear a T-shirt if it's real hot, you know? Go out and cut your grass, you wear a three-piece suit. But anyway, he can be talked to, and I'd like to see. In fact, I donate money to Code Pink. Code Pink is anti-genocide. They go up to congressmen and tell them, hey, how can you take money from AIPAC? What's wrong with you? How can you defend killing babies and so forth? I'd like to see Code Pink just pepper John Moore with calls every day. And finally, he'd change his mind. He'd realize he's trying to defend the
indefensible. Yeah,
you can't defend Israel.
That's good.
And like
it's
like
good, Don.
Linda says, if you let them talk, they just dig themselves into a hole that they can't get out of, and they lose the. Just let them talk, right? That's all. You got another caller, John? Jim?
I do actually. Now I have another caller, and thank you, Don. Very good, very timely. James in Vancouver. James, join the conversation, James.
So how many hundreds of billions of dollars have we got in orders since Donald Trump has been in the Middle East? Back to you.
A lot.
Yeah.
James. Go right ahead. Yeah.
Well, so now you have the cooling off with Israel, obviously, because I don't think they got in on the gravy. So they're trying to save face, and that's the fortunes of international politics. It can change overnight. So,
yes.
This is how.
So you believe the break with Netanyahu is for real and may be enduring?
Well, because those Arabs might not be so easy to put their hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States if they felt that Trump was, partial to Israel more than them, you see. Because in order to balance off the China, Russia, Iran situation, Donald Trump needs balance from the Middle East. That is Saudi Arabia and all its Emirates and all the rest of them. So obviously we're getting orders for the 787, and probably secretly we're getting orders for military equipment as well, you see. So this is how these things go. Back to you.
Yeah, no, interesting, especially on the politics. If he wants to do business deals with Arab nations, it might be better if he weren't so closely identified with Israel and its genocidal administration. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah. That doesn't mean we're out of the possible coming conflagration. It's just simply that the ducks are lining up. Like I said, I think on another program, we got a new pope. That pope is American. Now he's an American for a reason, because the Roman Catholic Church in Rome is angling for their position in world affairs, and perhaps they've even made a deal with Donald J. Trump in terms of handling things like Russia, China, and the rest of it, you see, because the Vatican's got an office in every country in the world, practically. So it's machinations and intrigue as far as I can see. Back to you.
You think this new pope is a positive, a plus for the world, or a negative?
Well, I think the Roman Catholic Church has been around for 2,000 years. The question can be asked, how has it been able to survive so long when we've seen principalities and nations come and go, you see? This is a thing that can be considered, I think, as a factor. So if the church has been around for 2,000 years, one can ask the probability that it'll be around for another 25 or 30. Back to you.
Yeah. Oh, well, 25 or 30. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Although
His predecessor His predecessor was very preoccupied with Gaza and made phone calls every single day to express his support of Gaza. This new pope has expressed that he deplores the genocide and called for it to come to an end. So they're both on the right side of that issue for sure.
Yeah.
James, your thoughts?
Well, the last pope, I don't know if he was suicided or what. He fell into disfavor with the Roman Catholic Church, like I said, the Curia. I think there's no question about that he was too radical. And this pope now has been put in there because the Curia has decided, look, no more funny business about all of those things that people talk about that aren't worth mentioning. You see, so in order to galvanize, let's say, the church's stand with the present believers who have money in their pockets, the church has decided, look, we got to be more conservative. And I'll get back to you. Your show is ending. But you get what I mean, right? The people with
James,
the money in their pockets are the ones that call the shots. All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks, then.
Much appreciated, James. Thanks to all the callers today. Meanwhile, spend as much time as you can with your family, your friends, the people you love and care about. We don't know how much time we have left. Use it wisely. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday, and support RBN.